Along with Chrysler's investment in Mitsubishi came a partnership that brought a small car to the American manufacturer's lineup in the form of the Dodge Colt, just as the gas crunch of the early 70s heated up. The 1974 model year brought an update to the Dodge Colt and Mitsubishi Gallant body style. This second-generation Colt featured more rounded body lines on the tried-and-true first-generation unibody platform. Of the 42,925 produced, there's no telling how many are still with us today. That number can't be huge. Just look up Dodge Colt on Wikipedia and you'll see this very car, and see it mentioned in various enthusiast forum posts across the internet. And if you were watching TV in the 70s, you'll remember
two reclining bucket seats and carpeting for both your feet and windows made of tinted glass and keep for locking up your gas. The outside air can flow right through. In front, the brakes are standard too. How did Dodge Colt put so much in such a little car? Paint that's made for fighting, rusted steering column will adjust the bumper guards from front and rear. You get a thrifty engine here, a 4-speed shift that's on the floor, and inside hood releasing more. How did Dodge Colt put so much in such a little car?
See it at your local Dodge Boys.
This particular Colt was manufactured in October of 1973 at Mitsubishi's Nagoya plant. It was delivered to a San Jose, California Dodge dealer who used it as a demonstrator before the current owner purchased it in 1974, with just under 2,000 miles on the odometer. It was her first car, and she kept a meticulous log of oil changes and service performed in the owner's manual through the late 1980s, and from then on, all receipts complete the story of maintenance and mileage on this Colt to the present day. In its first decade, it was her only car, clocking approximately 127,000 miles as a commuter and made some notable trips to Oregon and many up and down the peninsula to San Francisco. In 1981, the owner and the Colt moved to Santa Cruz, California, where it's been ever since. After some 15 years of exposure to salt air, faded paint and a few spots of rust prompted a full respray in 1996, with the replacement of the hood and front fenders, and rust removal in various areas. 2 years later, it was backed into by a neighbor, and the front left fender was again replaced, and the paint in the front area refinished. At first glance, and from a distance, one might mistake it for a restoration, but it's definitely not a museum piece, so let's step in and take a closer look. The dash has a few cracks, and its only real modification is the aftermarket tachometer. It's a heat work, probably. So your pyrometer comes in handy. Under the mat on the driver's side, you'll see evidence of corrosion near the drain hole and in the left front corner. Under the hood is the original Mitsubishi 4G32 1.6-liter inline four-cylinder engine. Aside from regular oil changes and services, the head was rebuilt at 141,000 miles in 1987. It's gone through a couple of water pumps and radiators, but otherwise remains stock. The transmission was rebuilt in 1993, the clutch was replaced and flywheel resurfaced in 96, and more recently, a new starter in 2018. Moving to the other end, the trunk is remarkably solid. Wheels and tires. Steel 13-inch wheels sport the original dog dish caps, which are in great shape. The 34-year-old 175/70/13 Michelins are ready for replacement. The underside. This is the aforementioned driver's side drain hole rust. And this is on the passenger side floor pan. Having been garage kept, there aren't a lot of body dings or dents to point out on this Colt. But having lived next door to the Pacific Ocean for 43 years, there are a few things to point out. The top of the front bumper shows some pitting. There are a couple of minor waves in the rear bumper. In spending some time in it, I was pleasantly surprised by the smoothness and solid feel of this 50-year-old Colt. The owner's husband is a longtime SCCA racer who wanted to point out if you're too rough with the release of the clutch, it can cause a driveline vibration that feels like wheel hop. The other old car idiosyncrasy is, if it sits for a few weeks, the carburetor float sinks and it's difficult to start, usually requiring adding gas directly to the carburetor to fire it. Start it weakly, and it's happy as a clam. This little car looks like it should be on the movie set of a film set in the mid-1970s, and the longevity of this Colt supports the reputation of quality and reliability associated with Japanese compacts of the era. They're tough little cars. After all, they were rallied quite successfully back in the day. With the same conscientious owner for the past 50 years, this Colt has outlasted many of its peers.